So it's been a minute since I've been here, but I am back now and I want to try something a little bit different on my channel. I wanted to do a Bailey Sarian type video of where she does true crime and makeup, but instead I wanted to do mythology and makeup, and that's pretty much all we need to know. We don't need to ramble too much into this, so I figured let's just get into it. I also should just preface that like anything I use on my face, just to kind of cut down on time, I'm not going to mention as I'm doing it. I'm just going to do the makeup. Put it in the description if you're curious. And yeah. So today we're going to talk about Aphrodite. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. I never know if it's Aphrodite or Aphrodite, but I'm pretty sure it's Aphrodite. Just a forward in general. If I mispronounce any Greek names, I'm very sorry. I am trying my best. So, early life of Aphrodite, she is essentially the goddess of love, beauty, and anything to do with sexuality, essentially. She's often portrayed as being very perfect, beautiful, symmetrical was a word that I found in one of my resources, and also just nude, but that's probably just because of the artworks that are found of her. Her birth, her conception, whatever you want to call it, has been portrayed or talked about in two different ways from two different sources. So the two sources that talk about her birth are from Hesiod and Homer. Homer is the one that wrote the Iliad. So Hesiod says that Aphrodite is essentially the daughter of Zeus and Dione? I really should have looked up how to say these names before I started, but here we are. Essentially, in his retelling, she is one of Zeus's children. In Homer's retelling of the story, essentially, it's that Uranus, the planet, I guess the god, essentially his manly parts were cut off and kind of thrown into the sea, and from the sea emerged this shell, and out of the shell came Aphrodite. And she was like the most beautiful thing that anyone had ever seen in their lives. It was just like, wow, she's gorgeous, she's beautiful. So obviously, right off the bat with her birth, her origin story, it's two very conflicting stories about how exactly she came to be into the universe, world, whatever. And it's very confusing to know what source is accurate. These are both two very notable Greek, like, storytellers, philosophers, whatever you want to call them. And so Plato just kind of theorized that, like, hey, maybe both these stories are true, but they're just talking about two different people with the exact same name. And so Plato goes on to say that one Aphrodite is a representation of higher love with men, and she is known to him as the heavenly Aphrodite, whereas the other one is more representative of love between man and woman, and that one is known as pandemic Aphrodite. Why? I don't know, but that's what was said when I looked these things up. So what I really want to focus on with my one eyebrow done is the different lovers, essentially, that Aphrodite had, because she had quite, like, a laundry list of men, like, on her record, which is, like, good for her, like, you know, you do you. But through all this, she actually did have a husband. I should look up how to say the husband's name because it's a little bit ridiculous and I don't want to get this totally wrong. Okay, I believe her husband's name was Hephaestus. Yeah, that sounds right. So Hephaestus was technically Aphrodite's husband, like, just in general. Similarly to her birth story, there are two origin stories as to how she got her husband, how she, like, became his wife, all of that. Generally speaking, it sounds like in all these retellings, he was not the most handsome god. So let's back up a little bit. Hephaestus was the god of fire and craftsmanship and things of that sort. So in one retelling, it was said that Aphrodite was she went to Olympus, and when she got there, all these, like, gods were like, oh my god, she's so beautiful, she's so amazing, like, they all wanted to just be with her, essentially, and it was just wreaking havoc amongst, like, Olympus, and just all these guys wanted to be with her so badly. Obviously, it was causing a kerfuffle. I have never used that word ever in my life, but that's what it seems like it was causing, was a kerfuffle. And what happened is that I believe Hera, who is Zeus's wife, kind of stepped in and said, like, you know what, I think you need to just be with Hephaestus? Is that what I said? Hephaestus. This is really hard to say. Hephaestus. Hera really wanted her to be with Hephaestus because he essentially was, quote, the one who least desired Aphrodite amongst all the other Olympians. And so I guess she thought that would cause, like, the least amount of drama, but however, like, if that's the case, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, kind of, maybe. I don't know. Like, I think, you know, guys, if the other Olympians wanted to be with her, they would still be mad as if they weren't with them. And even more so, it's like, if he wanted her the least, then, like, it kind of makes sense how, spoiler alert, later down the line, she does, like, cheat on him multiple times over, so like why that was a solution, I'm not too sure. They say multiple times from different sources Hephaestus was like kind of like the ugliest child, which is like really sad. I think it was like from birth or something. I'm not sure if it was like an incident or an accident or whatever, but it's like he was just an ugly child and like everyone just knew it. And I guess he was like more or less like, you know, it was known that he was not the like prettiest looking Olympian god that there was. And so I guess he was really pissed at his mom. I'm really paraphrasing here. This is more or less what's going on. Hephaestus was pissed at Hera, who I believe was his mother. I think so. Essentially, Hephaestus knew that he was not like the greatest looking child, and that he just wasn't the greatest looking just god either. And so he was really pissed off at Hera for just kind of like treating him like an outcast or something, just kind of like not giving him like the love and support he really wanted. So he set a trap for her, because that's the way you get even with your mom, is you set traps when they kind of mistreat you, you know? What else are you supposed to do? So yes, in retaliation to his mom kind of just like rejecting him as an ugly child, he set a trap for her, I believe, on her throne. And when she sat down, she just like couldn't get back up. The thing like strapped her down, which is funny because that's kind of a recurring theme that's going to be going on in this series of videos. She like couldn't escape, and everyone's like, what the hell, what are you doing, why are you like trapping your mom down like this, that's not cool. And eventually Dionysus I think, I'm pretty sure, basically the god of wine, was like trying to like, everyone was trying to help out to be like, you need to let her go, what's wrong with you. And so Dionysus, I'm gonna say the god of wine, let's just make this easier. The god of wine essentially just kind of got Hephaestus drunk and convinced him to let his mom go. But Zeus did not get this memo. He heard that Hera was trapped like in her throne and couldn't get out, and it was all Hephaestus' fault. But he didn't know that the god of wine was like on it and basically convinced him to like let her free, get her out. And so Zeus came along, not knowing what was about to happen, and was like, oh my god, you know, if you like, you need to let her go, like what can I do for you to set her free? And Hephaestus, even if he's drunk, he's being very smart, very manipulative, and he basically uses this to his advantage. And in this version, this is where Zeus is Aphrodite's father. So Hephaestus is like, I'll let her go, but you have to give me Aphrodite's hand in marriage. So in this version, I guess he is not the one that seeks her out the least. I guess he also is a contender for wanting to be with Aphrodite. So I don't know, kind of conflicting stories there, but so is her birth, so you know what's new. But Zeus agrees to this, and as a result, then either way, Aphrodite essentially is married to Hephaestus, more or less unwillingly on both ends. Like in both scenarios, she essentially is just kind of forced into this marriage that she doesn't want, and thus begins the next series of events where she just continues to cheat on him. So one of the most notable gods she cheats on Hephaestus with is with Ares, the god of war. You know, it seems right, the god of war, like if you're gonna cheat on or just cuckold a man, sounds like you're choosing violence, so you know, sounds about right. So yeah, they just basically have a really long, ongoing affair. They cheat on him multiple times. So during one of these affairs, in my notes, I put down that his name is Electron. That does not sound right. That's something that my computer autocorrected it to. I'm gonna just put his name right here as I'm editing. But he basically tells like one of his friends, like, hey, you need to like, I'm gonna hook up with some man's wife, so you need to be on the lookout. Tell me when Helios, who is essentially like the sun, when the sun comes out in the morning, you need to let me know when he's coming, because if he sees us, then he's gonna catch us in the act, and he's probably gonna tell Hephaestus. We don't want that, so you need to be on the lookout. However, his buddy, I'm gonna call him his buddy because I'm not 100% sure what his name is because I'm dumb and I wrote down Electron for some reason, but his buddy essentially falls asleep on the job, which is like, I feel that would probably be me too, not intentionally, but it's like, sleep is nice, I don't know. So he essentially falls asleep on the job, and so Helios catches them in the act, and he's like, oh my god, like, Aphrodite's cheating on her husband, like, I need to go tell the husband. So Helios goes and tells Hephaestus, like, hey, do you know your wife is sleeping with another guy? So I don't know what retelling we're like basing this off of, or like what like string we're following here, but if we're following the string of like he wanted her, desired her the least, and still married her, like, that's kind of weird that, like, then you would try to seek revenge, because it's like, you didn't even, like, want her that much. Like, you just, like, why do you care that much? But it's like, if it's the other retelling, it's like, okay, I get it. But, like, still, it's a little bit conflicting. I should have mentioned that a little bit late of a disclaimer, but all these resources, they are essentially summarizations of different older resources, and because these resources come from different regions, then it's a little bit harder to place down, like, what came from what, because it's, yeah, just a summarization of many things, and these different resources essentially just have different timelines, I guess. So it's a little bit hard to pin down, but I'm gonna try my best to just roll with it. But yeah, essentially, he is pissed off, and so he's like, I'm gonna set a trap, because he's the god of craftsmanship, and he creates this, like, golden netting, like, for the bed. So the next time that Ares and Aphrodite go to sleep together, what would happen is, I guess, netting would come out from the bed, like Spider-Man it, and then just, like, tether them down, kind of like what happened with Hera and her throne. Because, so, like I said, there's a theme going on. There's a theme with Hephaestus and doing this. So it works, and he catches them in the act. They're, like, naked, and obviously. And Hephaestus is just like, haha, I caught you. I'm gonna make it worse now by bringing all my friends over, and we're all gonna laugh at you together. Which is, like, kind of weird, but, like, okay, whatever. You know, if that's the way you want to go about this, that's the way you want to go about this. That's, you know, whatever, your choice, man. In one of these retellings, Poseidon kind of tells Hephaestus, hey, you know, you need to let them go. Like, let me, like, not vouch for them, but he kind of just, like, gave something to Hephaestus in exchange for, like, setting them free. We'll put a pin in that and come back to that briefly later. Yeah, just kind of weird revenge for... I mean, I guess, yeah, like, make a, like, mockery out of it, but it's like, you're gonna let all these other men see your wife naked? Like, I don't know, a little bit strange, but if that's how you want to go about this, that's how you want to go about it. I'm not gonna judge. After this happened, obviously, Ares is kind of pissed, so because his friend did a really shitty job at, looking out for, like, people, or for... Since his friend did a really bad job of looking out for Helios, he turned him into a rooster so that he would never again forget to, like, remind everyone that, like, hey, the sun is coming out now, which, like, is kind of funny and it makes a lot of sense. So coming off of what just happened, this isn't super consistent across the board. I do have my resources listed down below, but in one of the summarizations that I read, it did say that Poseidon ended up being one of Aphrodite's lovers that she cheated on Hephaestus with, and it was after he, like, saw her naked with Ares, and he, like, fell in love with her beauty and just all that, and she ended up having an affair with him also, because, like I said, I don't think it's the best idea to get back at your wife for cheating on you by showing everyone, like, how she cheated on you. Like, kind of makes sense, not really, but obviously it didn't really work out with Poseidon because he saw how, like, beautiful she was and was like, okay, well, now I want to sleep with her too. And he did. It does say that Poseidon had one daughter with Aphrodite. You know, I guess, like, I mean, she had a long list of lovers. I'm not even going through all of them. I'm just going through, like, the really big ones. So yeah, you know, they probably were in an intimate relationship together. But yeah, that was just kind of not stupid, but kind of stupid, just repercussion of Hephaestus' not well thought out ideas and kind of the consequences that came with it. Very briefly, I want to go over Hermes. I'm going to just say Hermes. I know, like, Disney is not the right resource to be going off of, but they refer to him as Hermes in Hercules, so that's what we're going with. Hermes also had a very, like, short-lived relationship with Aphrodite. Basically, the synopsis of what I've read is just that he kind of, like, really pined after her, but she kind of, like, turned on her, like, his advances, and, like, long story short, he really, like, just wore her down, essentially, which, like, kind of weird, kind of creepy, but, like, it's Greek mythology, so I guess what are you expecting? And they did end up having a child together, and I feel like the name of the child really reflects how much Aphrodite really just did not care to have a relationship with this man, because I believe the child's name was Hermaphrodite, which is literally just a combination of their two names. And, like, you know, if Hera's out here just outcasting her son more or less for being ugly, then, like, Aphrodite sure as hell is gonna, like, outcast her child for being the child of like someone she really wasn't even that attracted to. So like honestly, I'm not that surprised. But like damn, like you can just tell she did not care, because like all her other kids have like different names, like they just are original, they're like whatever. But she really was just like, I don't really care what you name this child, just put our names together. That's not, I'm not stating that as fact. I'm just like saying that it's like damn, that's what it'd be like, that I really don't care about what you name this child. I really didn't want this. I didn't want this relationship. You can just combine our names together and that's good enough. Do that. I don't care. That's what it feels like anyways. So yeah, those are some of the more notable immortal companions she had that she cheated on her husband with. Like I said, there's a lot more. I'm just not going to get into it. So now I'm going to kind of delve into her immortal lovers. No, wait, that's what I just said. I'm going to dive into her mortal lovers now. I would say this is not the most notable one, but this is the one that I felt was a little bit like more interesting to me reading about. So it's about someone whose name I should also look up how to say. Anchises. Anchises. It says American pronunciation, so I don't know how much I trust that. I'm gonna say Anchises, but let's talk about Anchises before we get into Adonis. Again, you know, retellings are a little bit like dicey. It's a little bit different depending on who the source is. So this beginning part is a little bit different depending on who you ask. It said that Zeus was kind of fed up with Aphrodite because she was making the other gods fall in love with mortals, which I guess was like a really big no-no. So he was like, you know what, you need to get a taste of your own medicine. So he sent Cupid, well, his name wasn't Cupid, Eros. He sent Eros, which sounds like arrows, and I just realized that now. That's kind of funny, because Cupid and arrow, okay, anyways. He sent Eros to essentially make her fall in love with a human. And so Aphrodite came across Anchises. And Anchises was a shepherd man, but he came from a royal family, royal lineage. Regardless, he was just a mere mortal, and she was a goddess. I believe it was not allowed for them to be together because of that. She just kind of made herself look like a human, and she went down to him, and in all the retellings, essentially, it was like she was just like so beautiful. She was like shimmering, she was gleaming, she was glowing, she had like her highlight on point, everything. She was just like so like beautiful that he was like, oh my god, are you a goddess? Like, she did not do that good of a job of covering that up. And she was just like, what? No, oh my god, I just come from a royal family. I am not a goddess. You don't need to worship me like this. Like, I am a mere mortal like you. But like, you know, he could kind of tell from the beginning, but he was just so like attracted to her. I believe in one of the stories she told him that Hermes sent her down to essentially be with Anchises and like have a child with him, do all these things. And he was like, well, if a god told you to do that, then like who am I to say no to that? So she got what she wanted, which is not that great. Like deceiving anyone to be with them intimately is it's very sketch, but you know, whatever. This is ancient Greek time, so like I guess it just is what it is. But like, you know, kind of weird, kind of sketchy, but whatever. You know, she got what she wanted. Yeah, essentially that's what it is she got what she wanted, and she kind of, after she got it, she was like, oh hey, by the way, I am a goddess. I just like lied to you, like my bad, sorry. And he was just kind of like, oh my god, like what am I gonna do? And she was like, well, you know, because like, this is where it gets a little bit sketchy, but like more or less she's just telling him, you know, we'll have a son together, and spoiler alert, they do have a son, and that son goes on to be like really big and notable within the Trojan War, or Spartan War, sorry, in the Spartan War. She also tells Anchises, you know, just don't tell anyone that you are with me intimately, and you'll be fine. Like, you'll have no reason to worry, you'll be okay, but like if you tell anyone, oh my god, there was something flying around. Okay, anyways, oh my god. She basically was like, if you do tell anyone that we were together, then like just so you know, Zeus is gonna like come down and like smite you with his thunderbolt. So he's like, okay, great. And he was doing a great job of not telling anybody. And then as it happens, he got drunk. So surprise, surprise, he got smith. Like the legit word in my research was smith, like S-M-I-T-H. Did Aphrodite get any repercussions for this? No. Like, poor guy was manipulated by a woman to have sex with her because she just really, really liked him. And she like lied about who she was. She catfished him, essentially. She's like the first catfish ever. That's not a fact. Again, these are Sydney facts, which means they're not really that true. Or they could be true, who knows. But she basically catfished him, and he's the one being punished for it, which is kind of messed up, but, I mean, I don't know, that's mythology for you, I guess. That's what you get for being immortal, like, you're not good enough to get away with things. So, sucks to suck, I guess. I guess that's the moral of that story. But yeah, that's Anchises. Poor guy. Thoughts and prayers with him, but what are you gonna do? At least, you know, yes, he got smite by Zeus, but at least he can say that he was with a goddess. The goddess of beauty. Like, that's pretty, and he's a mortal that did that too. I think there was only like 2 mortal men she slept with. Speaking of her other mortal lovers, we're gonna get into Adonis. Now, prior to this research, I thought Adonis was a god. I did not know he was mortal, but apparently he's mortal. So there's a lot more backstory into Adonis, but I don't want to get too lost in all of that. Like I said, I'm trying to keep this story as focused as possible. Where our story is going to begin in regards to this is that Aphrodite essentially finds this little baby boy. There's nothing wrong with that. And she takes him to the underworld for Persephone to kind of like, she was just like, hey, I found this baby. Can you help me out? Like, just keep an eye on him for me. Thanks. You know, I guess it's hard work cheating on your husband a lot, so she didn't have time to look after a baby. So she just kind of like pushed her off onto Persephone. One day, I guess she's like, hey, I wonder how that baby's doing that I just like left with like Persephone down in the underworld. Let me go check. So she goes back, and I guess he's grown now and like kind of hot, which is like, okay, whatever. But he was a baby when you like gave him away, and now he's not a baby. And you think, you're like, she basically fell in love with him because he was just like so handsome, which is just like really weird. But again, it's Greek mythology. These are different times. Like, you know, people were marrying their brothers and sisters, so it's like, I guess it's a little bit less weird to like have found a baby that you're not related to and then just be attracted to it later in like years down the line. I don't know. This is all really like, just history is weird, man. But essentially, she's just like, oh damn, he's handsome now. I think I'm in love with him, because that's how love works in these stories, apparently. Definitely is how it works with Persephone. Not Persephone, it's how it works with Aphrodite and all her, like, suitors. Yeah, she's just like, oh my god, he's so handsome now, I'm obviously in love with him. But, unfortunately for her, so is Persephone, which is even weirder than Aphrodite, because she's the one that's raising him, or has been raising him, allegedly, all these years. So they're both in love with him, they both want to be with him, and because Aphrodite's now in love with him, she's like, you know what, you've done your job, you've taken care of him as like a child when he's being an annoying little toddler. Now that that's done and now that he's grown and handsome, let me take him back with me to like Olympus. And Persephone is like, hell no, like I love him, he's staying down here with me, and it becomes this whole big fight. So then Zeus has to intervene. Zeus's solution to this problem, he basically just doesn't even know who he should go with. Maybe Zeus is aware that this is a messed up situation and no matter what, it's just gonna be like bad. Not bad, but it's just messed up either way. He says, you know what, I'm not gonna like choose one way or the other. Adonis's time will be split, so he will spend 1/3 of the year in the underworld with Persephone, and he'll spend the other 1/3 of the year in Olympus with Aphrodite, and the remaining third of the year, it'll be his choice. He's a grown man now, apparently, and he can choose whoever he wants. So that happens, but I guess because goddess of beauty maybe, or maybe because that she's less of a mother figure than Persephone was, Adonis would rather be with Aphrodite. So he wants to spend the remaining 1/3 of the year with Aphrodite. And Persephone is pissed. She's just like, oh my god, how dare he choose her over me? Like, I should be the one that he wanted to choose. So, again, a little bit like foggy on like what exactly happened. But in one of the retellings, it's Persephone who sends out, I believe, a wolf. I think it's a wolf, to basically just attack him. It's a wolf or a boar or a bear. That's also really close to the word boar. Some wild animal. It's a boar. Okay, so allegedly, according to one resource, Persephone sends out a wild boar to kill Adonis, because, you know, if she can't be with her own child, who can? No one, apparently. So she sends out a wild boar to kill him, and in other retellings, it's just said that a boar kills him. It doesn't say if it was sent by anyone, it doesn't say if it's an accident or not, but just for the sake of drama, we'll say his mom sent out a boar to kill him because he didn't want to be with her, because that's normal. Obviously, Aphrodite and Adonis are, like, in love, and so she's heartbroken by this, and in every version, Adonis dies in Aphrodite's arms while she's just, like, crying over him, because this is the love of her life apparently, because they're both two really hot people, and that's how love works. The nice part to the story is that from the tears of Aphrodite and the blood of Adonis when he died, his blood and her tears essentially fused together, and they created anemone flowers, which is really pretty. And I mean, I want to say it's nice. It's a little weird, just because it's like, you know, it's kind of a morbid story, and like, you know, it's like very Romeo and Juliet romantic, which is like, okay, cool, whatever, but it's also, yeah, just, it's a little bit morbid, a little bit weird, but you know, whatever, it's fine. Like, I want to say it's nice, but it's kind of weird, but like also, like, it was just a cute mention for me personally, because I really like anemone flowers, so I was like, oh, like, that was a nice mention of that. You know, I guess there's like that two tones, like, color to anemones. They have like that black center and then like the color on the outside, so I guess, you know, it's from the blood and the tears, and that's what makes the two colors, I guess. I don't know. That's the story of Adonis, her other lover, who was also mortal. Just how their love made nice flowers. It's a little weird. It's a little insensuous. Very incest-like. There we go. Honestly, I'm like acting so surprised that there's all this like weird like incest type stuff. Just weird energy, but it's like they're all a little bit, I don't know. I mean, in literal history, people are like marrying their cousins and like family, so it's like, is it really that nuts? Maybe not, but still, what the hell. Oh, before I forget, actually, on this story of Adonis, like I said, there's different sources that say like what the boar was, how it got there, all this and that. One of the sources say that the boar was Ares, because that was her prevalent lover from back in the day. And like, you know, I'd be kind of pissed too that like this girl I've been sleeping with, because I believe Ares and Aphrodite had like 8 kids together. Yeah, they had 8 kids together, because that's just how much they were sleeping together with. When you look up like Aphrodite's lovers, Ares is like one of like the big ones that come up, and so it's like, you know, yeah, if you were like her main side chick, yeah, that's what Ares is, her main side chick, her number one booty call, I guess. If you're like the number one like person that she's like just having an affair with, like, wouldn't you be pissed too that like, hey, like, who's this I am a literal god of war, like, how much more masculine can you get than that, than to be the god of actual war? Like, and some mortal comes along and she's literally crying over the fact that she like, or not even crying over the fact, but it's like she like is just so in love with this guy that she's willing to like just throw hands with another like Olympian goddess to be with him. I mean, she didn't literally do that, but you know, they were like just fighting over him essentially. But it's like, you know, yeah, I'd be pissed too. And if you're the god of war, you're not gonna be like reasonable and rational about things. You're gonna be kind of like just act crazy, go nuts, go stupid. I kind of like that version too, where it's like, you know, that it was Ares that was the boar and attacked Adonis because he was just in a fit of like jealousy and rage. I did not read this. This is another Sydney fact, but it's a fun little thing to hypothesize. I like to think that both of these are true, and that not only did Persephone send out a boar to essentially just kill Adonis because she was pissed that he didn't choose her. I think she went to Ares being like, hey, did you hear that, you know, this girl you love, like, that you have like 8 children with, that she's like hooking up with this like mortal man, you should like go, you know, like, I think she like poked the boar. I think she poked the boar essentially, and kind of was in cahoots with this, or like, you know, whether they were in on this together, whether Persephone just kind of like said this knowing it would set him off. I like to think that both of these are true, and that she kind of like orchestrated this essentially, because that's some pretty like intense petty level shit to just be like, okay, like, if I can't have you, no one can. I'm gonna do this in the most like petty way ever, because I'm gonna have your other ex-lover be the one to kind of just like kill him. So like, I don't know, just for the sake of drama, I kind of hope that that's what happened. I just think it's like really interesting, really riveting. This is a really pink blush. I need to diffuse this down a lot. So the last story we're going to talk about isn't so much about a lover she had, but one of the websites phrased it so weirdly. I just knocked things over. Yeah, so one of the websites I looked up, they phrased this super weirdly. Like, I thought this was another one of her lovers by the way they phrased it, because they said this is the last mortal to have seen her naked. So I was like, okay, so that means her lover, right? But what it actually is I believe the Judgment of Paris is what this is. This man, Paris, was kind of, for some reason, they, like, just 3 goddesses. I don't know why, I've already forgotten which ones it is, but essentially, Aphrodite is involved in this, and, oh my god. Aphrodite is involved in this, and They're just like, oh, we want to know who's like the most beautiful goddess of all. And all three goddesses are kind of just bribing Paris with like, if you like say that I'm the most beautiful one, I'll give you like this in return. Aphrodite's offer was that if you say that I'm the most beautiful goddess, I will find you the most beautiful girl. It will not be me, but I will find you the most beautiful mortal girl, essentially, is what her offer was. And so the man chose love. He wanted a hot wife. So he said that Aphrodite was the most beautiful one. So Aphrodite was like, okay, you know, you chose me. I'm gonna follow up on my word and I will get you the most beautiful wife that, like, there is. So the most beautiful woman that she could give him, that was just alive, I guess, at this point in time, was Helen of Sparta. The problem with Helen of Sparta is that she had a husband already. She basically is married to someone, to like a really big like name in Sparta. Or am I having a hard time saying that? I don't know. But she's already married to like somebody. She's already betrothed. Yeah, Aphrodite basically is like, I promised you to this man, so like, you know, it doesn't matter if you're married or not, like you're gonna go to him now. And I believe Paris is from Troy. So what this starts is that this starts the Trojan War, essentially, because he took someone else's wife. And so he, like, obviously, this dude, we'll say king of Sparta, I don't know if that's his real title or not, but, like, big name in Sparta, he's pissed because his wife just got taken, like, what the hell? Like, why wouldn't you be mad at that, you know? Like, that's totally fair. So, yeah, this essentially just starts off the Trojan War, which is, like, crazy, that when you see things about how Aphrodite started the Trojan War, you would think things that it's like, oh, you know, like, she, like she was the eye of, like, not affection, but, like, she was, like, the object of admiration, I guess, and, you know, that's why it started off, like, the war, but it's not. It's because she was just like, I'm gonna take you and just, boop, just, now you're someone else's wife. You're someone else's property, which is kind of what it sounds like. Because it's like, did anyone ask, like, Helen what she wanted? Like, I doubt it, but it's just, like, you know, in 2022 terms, it's like, it does not sound super consensual, which is, like, you know, I don't think anything really was in this entire story, but it's just, like, she started a war because she was just like, oh, someone told me that I'm really hot, so now this is your new man's now, because I'm a goddess and I said so. You know, paraphrasing, things like that. But yeah, basically she started the Trojan War because she wanted to just be the hottest goddess in Olympus. Just kind of dumb, but like, whatever, I guess. Just, I say that like anything else I've said has made sense, but like, I guess it just is what it is. I'm gonna throw on my lashes and my little extra Aphrodite details, and then we'll be right back. So I obviously just threw on some lashes, some lips, and I added like little heart freckles onto my face, because, you know, goddess of love and all that stuff. But yeah, that was basically the story of the lovers of Aphrodite, and also how she started a war, because that also seems really important. And this was something very different I haven't done on my channel before, so if you guys like that, please let me know. I do have a few more stories lined up, and it's not limited to just mythology. I am planning on doing different like folklore stories, just stories of the past, whatever. I think it'd be really fun. So while I do have things lined up, please let me know if there's anything you guys would want to hear. And yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!